Good morning, everyone. Not sure if anybody's arrived yet. Oh, not quite, eh? I will just kind of keep chatting for a few seconds here and wait for folks to hopefully pop on. We are, I don't know, 30 seconds or so early. Just going to type a note for you folks here. There we go. Good morning. I see we have one guest. Who do we have on here at this point? You're right on time, whoever you are. I love it. All right, let's get started. I am Gary McLean, and you are watching Talent Talk. Hello, everybody. Hello, Christopher. Thanks for saying hi. Thanks for joining us. I am Gary McLean. I am your host of Talent Talk. Welcome to today's episode. Today we have a young lady who has, well, her experience is definitely in the stunt side of things. She's an actress. She's also performed in MMA fighting. And yeah, she's an up and coming talent who has a feature film that's going to be coming out fairly soon, and she's quite excited about it. As I'm sure once we kind of go through it a bit, I think a lot of you folks will be pretty excited about it. So yeah, please join me in welcoming Megan Reneau.
Good
Hi,
morning.
Megan.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Mm.
So, just so folks watching, maybe you could just do a little introduction of yourself. Who are you? Where are you from? How long you
My
been
name
doing
is
this?
oh, long time. Uh, my name is Megan Reneau. I'm located in Calgary, Alberta. I was born here, raised mostly here. I guess I started kind of acting lessons about 12 years ago, and I guess I started training stunts maybe like 6 years ish ago, give or take. And yeah, I love the industry, and I wish I would have started sooner. I wish I would have started working professionally sooner, but here I am.
Okay, no, that's fair.
Mm.
Um, so let's delve right into the actual acting portion of it first. We'll kind of tie into your other experiences in a bit. Did you go to school locally or anything like that for acting? Like, did you go to University of um, Fine Arts or anything like that?
I didn't, but actually, when I was about 18, Chris Cinnamon, who works in film here, he was a friend of mine. I met him randomly, luckily, and told me to go to Company of Rogues acting school. And at the time, I was kind of doing like some one-off little weekend workshops with different casting directors. And so when he told me about this school, I was like, I wanted to go, but I didn't really I guess I was working so much I didn't want to make the time, so to speak, to go do full acting classes. So I started, I think, with Company of Rogues in 2013, I believe is when I started. And I should have started sooner. I was in an excellent school, and I've taken some more classes with them throughout the years. And right now, I'm actually taking online classes with the Ruskin School of Acting from LA, and it's my favorite. It's Meisner technique, so it's been going great.
Excellent. And have you dealt, because I know a lot of the local actors, they've dealt both into the Calgary market, acting wise, and the Vancouver market. Have you gone over there at all at this point to do any acting in Vancouver?
I've gone to Vancouver for some auditions. Obviously, being with Actra Alberta and not being with the union in BC can be very tricky. It's easier to get casted actually even in Alberta if I'm in Vancouver. But I do know a lot of stunt people in Vancouver. I go out there and train with them. I've done like my freediving course. I did, I think it was a year and a half ago in Vancouver. It was actually the last time I was out there. So I do know a lot of people. I just haven't made the leap, I guess, over. I like being Alberta based. I love Calgary. So I'm trying to do what I can from here, and then I'll go from there.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, let's get right into that. The stunt stuff. Actually, I think that's. I don't know about anybody else watching. And by the way, hello, Bernard, Dan. Thanks for joining us. Um, yeah, let's get into the whole stunt side of things because to me that's always been fascinating. and last season I had someone else who also does some stunt work, Shauna Pleva. And yeah, I've always enjoyed hearing the stories of your training and the process you kind of go through with your training, which hopefully you can delve into a little bit, and the work you actually do on set as well. So maybe you could start off with like how what drove you to actually start into stunts?
I mean, I have to say, I have so much to say about the stunt industry that I could probably talk literally an hour just on my training and getting in very easily. So basically, I was with Company Rogues. I think I was about a year and a half in, and they had a one-off stunt course with Stephen McMichael. And I don't know if you don't know about Steve, he's done movies such as The Hobbit. I believe it's called C. I could be wrong. That just came out on Apple TV. Anyways, I went and took his class. And it just blew my mind. And I was like, oh, like, this is amazing. And I was coming as an actor. So I was like, oh, maybe like action actor, maybe I'll go that route. But his stories were so incredible. I don't know, I could just feel like, my passion lit up. And actually in that class, there was 2 parkour athletes, and I never heard about parkour ever at this time. So when they were there, he was just so interested in them. And I was like, like, what makes them so special? What is this parkour? And so I went and talked to them afterwards, and they were really, really welcoming. And I started doing parkour lessons, and that's kind of where I started. And I guess, through the last, I don't know, we're 27 years, I just fell so in love with the training. I got into the parkour community heavily. I was starting to train internationally, and I mean, I don't know which direction you want to go in here because there's just so much I could say, but that's what started me. I took this one stunt course for one weekend, and it just lit up, and I fell in love with it.
Okay, yeah, we'll definitely touch on a few aspects there. What I'm going to do right now, if you don't mind, is I'm just going to quickly show you a demo reel of some of your stunt stuff and give folks an idea of what you're actually doing. Oop. Wow,
so great seeing it.
Right? That was impressive. I had a few things there that I kind of wanted to touch on. I loved how casual you looked with the fire on your back. Just like, hey, I'm on fire, check me out, yay.
That was my first fire burn. Let me tell you, I open a lot of conversations like, just light me on fire. And then, my boyfriend will be like, can you tell people you're a stunt woman before you tell them to light you on fire? Definitely my problem.
My question is, because of course I've never experienced it, is do you feel the heat? Like,
you do. So you're kind of in a protective gel coating on your skin and your clothing. Again, that was my first burn. And I'm hoping to specialize actually more in fire burns. I just haven't got to do much more, and there's not really obviously a lot in Calgary. I'm not very seasoned yet. But when you get coated, basically what you do is you have to be mindful the whole time. So as soon as you start to feel heat anywhere on your body, that's when you have to be like, hey, like how much longer do I have? Like if I'm actually doing it on a film, how much time do they need me to be lit on fire? But as soon as that heat's like strong, or like, you're even starting to sense it, you should really just lay down and let them put you out right away.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
How long does it take to apply the gel? Is it a fairly quick process, or?
So the one I did, it was kind of a makeshift. My mentor in Michigan actually had me out, and I wanted him to light me on fire. He was my first fire burn, so I actually had him light my ass on fire, and then I kind of like leaned back into it, and it was really great. That's why I'm smiling, because I can say he actually lit my ass on fire. And so I literally was in a bucket, and him and his son just like coated me in gel. And the clothing, I didn't bring clothes to burn in, so I actually was wearing his clothes as well, and then they protected my hair. So I don't know, I think maybe 15 minutes to get lit, and maybe 15 seconds burning before I felt the heat. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So not very long really, for feeling the heat, that is. That's very cool. And one of the other points I wanted to kind of touch on. So I saw there was some, like near the end there was a little bit of a CGI thing going on there. So was that for like, were you actually doing some stuff for a computer game of some sort, or was that?
So that was a motion capture workshop. So I do like motion capture. There's a great school I was checking out in Vancouver for training in it more. I definitely would love to do more with it, but that one was just, I like to walk. I like back bends. So in bridges. So that was kind of something fun. I did down a wall and started doing my little creepy walkout. That was actually my first experience also with that one. So my this demo reel has a lot more of like first time, kind of more a mix of training and a little bit of professional, whereas my next one will have a lot more professional work.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Black Summer.
Yeah.
That was the other one I was kind of noticing as well. And there's quite a bit of stunt work on that one. Like I think there's a fairly big stunt crew involved with that show in general, I think. Can you tell us a little bit of maybe a couple behind the scenes stories of some of the stunts you did on that, or is that something you can talk about?
For season 1, I can. So season 1 obviously is on Netflix. But it depends. I was a stunt performer and a stunt double in that one. So the one day I was a stunt double, I wasn't able to actually do the double work I was supposed to. And that happens. Like sometimes you're there to do something. Sometimes you don't have time for it. Sometimes the actress is able to just carry it out. And that's just what we go with. And then the other one was the bridge scene that you saw. And I guess I can joke about one thing that definitely happened in that moment. So it was a raining day. It was pouring rain. We were trapped inside for a very long time. And we're all padded up, and we're basically in crowd control to help the actors get through this scene to make it to the gate so they can come and get out and fall through. And so we're in the front line basically clearing people away. And, the crowd was so dedicated. I was like literally told my stunt partners, like, one more person hits me in the face, I'm going to lose my shit, because I was just like, I'm trying to clear this like path for this actor to get through, and I'm just getting nailed. And I was just like, it's fine, but just one more elbow and that's it. So we actually started yelling at the crowd to like remind them that we're trying to get through, because I think they just got so lost in the moment, which is what was so great about it, but it was very hard. And I think it was one of the first or second takes when we actually broke through there that I landed, and I opened my eye after the cut, and I was about like this much away from my nail straight through the eye. Wow. And I was like, I should have checked my falling space a lot better than I did. But the first few times you didn't, like, you assume you're in a safe spot, and then it happens and you realize where you actually end up, and you're like, oh, I did not check this well enough for my own safety. Right. So that happened. And then I think it was like maybe the 6th take, I went through and I got pushed in a certain way and I spun, and I actually like palmed one of my other stunt performers right in the head. But I tried to reverse my energy really quick, so I went off of him so he didn't get a full impact to the head. So he's like, dude, you landed on my head. I was like, yeah, and I also saved your head. So, this went 2 ways here. So it was a really fun and challenging time, but it was, then it's Black Summer. We ran a lot after that.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Like, I mean, the bridge scene looked fairly intensive for sure, but yeah, I didn't realize it was that intensive. So
It
yeah,
is
that's
different
interesting.
being in a crowd.
Yeah, absolutely. So before I touch on and ask about some of the other stunts you may have done on there, just for the folks watching, if you guys have any questions while we're going along here, please feel free to type them in, and I'll make sure Megan gets a chance to answer them. Um, so, like, I know there's a few car crash scenes and stuff like that on Black Summer thing. Were you part of any of those ones where maybe your body went flying somewhere or anything like that? Or
So yeah, season one, I was stunt doubling for Brianna Johnson, and she was actually the one who was hit by the car right away. But I was supposed to be doing a different like tackle scene first, so I actually wasn't involved with any of the car stuff. But I did come on and assist the stunt coordinator for 2 weeks, and I got to be there while he set up some of the car crashes that you did see. So I got to be it was kind of like a learning thing for me. So I got to be around it. I'm not kind of like when you start stunts, your bread and butter is in fighting and falling. That's usually where like they test you out, they get to see how you're safe, how you are to work with, before you really get into like the heavier things like stunt crashes and getting hit and whatnot. Unless you're a performer or an actor who has to get hit, really like the chances of me getting stuff like that right away it's not normal to get them instantly. It takes some time.
for sure, yeah, and that makes sense, right? I mean, yeah, get that experience and the comfort level of your coordinators and stuff. Yeah, sure, that makes sense for sure. Um, you also did some stunt work, I think, for Wynonna Earp. Did you not?
Yes, Wynonna Earp, I stunt doubled for Megan Follows. And so my first day on set, this is actually a really funny story, and you'll probably get a pretty good kick out of this. So, my stunt coordinator, so Stephen McMichael, I was just about to be like, I fell in love with my training, kind of gave up everything professionally. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to stick with my training. I'm going to go back to college. I'm going to go like be a personal trainer, do something else with my life. And he called me and he was basically like, hey, I have a potential role for you. But I had to cut 37 pounds in 10 weeks. And him and I still joke about that to this day because I had to do it over Christmas and it sucked. But you know what? It was a great experience. So I'd lost all this weight. And then come January, it was, super cold. And he calls me, he's like, all right, I got your stunt for you. And I was going to be going up on this cliff. I don't remember what episode that is on, but it's in season 3. And so Megan follows her character. She's up on a cliff talking to Wynonna. And here I'm going, okay, cliff, no problem. He's like, are you afraid of heights? And I was like, no, not a big deal. It's totally fine. Then the rigger calls me. He's just like, how do you feel about heights? And I was like, how high up am I going here? Like that, they didn't tell me really how high. And I was like, hey, this could be like really high. It could not be. And it's my first day ever working stunts. That was the first show I did a stunt on. And so I showed up and I'm in about 6 pairs of pants. Believe it or not, like I have 6 pairs of pants on, including my padding. And then I'm like, if I fall off this cliff on my day one, like that's it for me. Like I'm fired. So believe it or not, on top of 6 pants, I put like a pad on. I put a tampon in because I was like, no way. If I fall off this cliff, am I shitting or pissing myself in front of my stunt coordinator? this entire crew. So I was like so mortified. And then I go up there and it's like 50 feet on a cliff. And I was just like, oh, it's fine. I was way over prepared and way overdressed, but like I was not letting them get the better of me if I fell off this thing. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
Things to think about.
Yeah. So they're like, it was real problems that day. It was a real problem.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
those situations come up for sure, right? So,
Yeah.
you've speaking of kind of stunt doubles and stuff like that, you've also done some stand-in work for like Jann Arden. I think on the show Jann. I'm not sure if anybody's seen that. I think they're going into season 3.
Yes.
I think, yeah. And you're actually doing stand-in for Jann, is my understanding, right?
So I was her stand-in for season 1, which was really great. So I got to work with her. I got to like be on set every day. And that was actually, I think, my first stand-in job where I was for the lead the whole time. And I just think stand-in work is honestly, you learn so much on a film set and the people and the entire crew. And you just have an entire new respect. And at the same time, you're getting to observe the actor. So it's just such a valuable learning experience as an actress and for the film industry. And Then in season 2, I actually lucked out and got to be her stunt double, because I'm like, honestly, the entire season 1, I was like super jealous of her stunt double, and I was like, oh man, but like I'm curvy like her, and like we're the same like height, and I want to do this so bad. So when I got brought back as her stunt double in season 2, I was incredibly grateful, and I had so much fun.
Okay, you kind of touched on another point I want to delve into a little bit with the actual learning as being a stand-in. How because maybe a lot of the folks that are actually watching right now don't actually realize what the stand-in does. Maybe you can describe a bit. I mean, the title itself is somewhat self-explanatory, but there's more to it, I think, right?
Oh, there's a lot more to it. So like when you first think stand, like, oh, I'm just standing in place while they set the camera and the lighting equipment around the actor. And that's like at the very, very base of what being a stand-in is. But if you can think about it in a different way, being a stand-in is like I'm playing Jann Arden in Jann Arden's show. I'm walking through every scene she's doing. I have the script. Sometimes I have to say the lines with the other actors. Sometimes I'm actually the eye line for the other actor when the camera isn't on her. Or even when I've done other stand-in shows where I'm actually the one that they're looking at. So I'm right there in the action. I'm walking through the entire role just like the actor is. It's just not me on camera fully committing to the emotions and the lines and that kind of thing. So as an actor, you're getting to learn blocking, you're hitting your marks, you're looking where you need to go, you're exiting when you need to go, you're learning how to work with a director, you're learning how to work with the camera crew, you're learning how to work with even makeup and hair. So as a stand-in, like professional stand-ins, if I was working on a show and the actress had blue eyes and I had green, it would actually be up to me to go get blue contacts. If her hair is cut short, it would be my responsibility, if I want that job, to go cut my hair. If she has long hair, to get extensions. So sometimes that stuff is covered on set, but a professional stand-in should already have those tools and be willing to basically have that ready to go and commit to that job and commit to that actor. Probably gonna have some water. But yeah, so like, I talk a lot, so it happens.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
But I hope that kind of helps. Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot I could say about being a stand-in. I was a stand-in for Jann Arden on season 1. I've been on a couple on and off. I was a stand-in for Carrie Coon with the upcoming Ghostbusters, which again, it's not out yet, so there's not a lot I can say about that. But I learned so much from being a stand-in that I take every opportunity I can when I get it, because if I'm not doing stunts, I'm not acting, it's a perfect time for me to go work with other professionals and learn more.
Right. Again, you kind of touched on with not being able to talk much about Ghostbusters. Again, this is more for the viewers that might not be as aware, but when it comes to an NDE, which is non-disclosure, NDA, I guess, agreement.
It's okay.
For most of the majority of the projects, like especially the larger projects that come here, that's a fairly mandatory thing that we have to do. Is there much or many projects that you've actually been a part of where you have not had to sign an NDA?
No.
Yeah, right. Like it's a pretty common thing, right? And
it is.
Like some of them are extremely stringent as well. Like there's no pictures on set. There's like you can't do anything, honestly.
Yeah, I mean NDAs are very, very important. Ghostbusters are like, at the time we weren't. I wasn't allowed to say that word. I had to only call it Rust City. It was the working title of the film. And my camera was left in my car. If I did have it on me, it was completely taped up so that there was no pictures allowed anywhere we had tape. But they were the most locked down set I've actually been on, which I understand too, because you really are trying to keep the secrecy of the film. But I mean, like, again, when you're there as a professional, you're doing your job. I'm not there because I want to ruin something for viewers. Like I want them to be excited and shocked at what they're going to go and watch and be like thrilled by it. And I don't want to take that away from them. By anything you leak off a set, you're ruining that for the audience. Yeah. So I take them really seriously, and I think they're great. I wouldn't feel comfortable going on a set without an NDA. I would be concerned that they don't value their project.
Right. I think that's a fair statement.
Mm.
Um, so are you part of Jann come season 3 as well, or can you say that? Or
So I just actually heard that they were just renewed. So I'm at this point, I'm assuming I'm still her stunt double. Jann and I got along really, really well. She's a great woman. She's so fun to work with. So, if I get a chance to interview again, maybe when season 2 has aired, I think they're airing it in fall, then I can definitely joke maybe more on some behind the scenes, because I'll actually have a lot more footage for my next demo reel when it comes out. I did get to do the stunts that I was doing for her. I got to do them all. And that's actually a big thing about being a stunt double as well. Like I said earlier, when you're doubling for someone, you can either get footage or you don't. Because if they do their stunt, you're not used. So you don't get any professional footage for your reels. But if an actor actually lets you do your stunts that you're there for, then you actually have footage which helps you get more jobs. So it's kind of like a catch-22 that, like, I'm glad when they can do their own stunts, but they're also making it hard for me to progress when I don't have anything to show for what I'm capable of doing. And it's hard to get the opportunities to do stuff, especially being in Alberta. So that's definitely a big thing. And I don't know if you actually want me to cover that too, because a lot of people don't understand the different categories of being a stunt woman or a stuntman. So there's a stunt double, which is when you're doubling an actor. There's a stunt performer where you have no lines, so you're seen visually as yourself. And then there's a stunt actor where you're doing your own stunts and you're acting as well, and you have lines. So a lot of people don't know there's actually 3 categories that you can be in.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fair. And I'm assuming your goal is to be the stunt actress or actor.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely what I started out. I just fell in love with stunts halfway through and almost just went that route, but it's turning back around for sure.
So, like, I know you've done some MMA stuff as well. Was that kind of a supplement for your stunt work, or was that kind of first and then stunts?
So I mean, I always liked fighting. I dated someone a long time ago that did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he kind of like taught me a bit. And I knew right then and there I liked MMA. I just didn't know at the time. Like I was a lot younger, and you just think, oh, I'm a girl. Like I'm not. I don't even think UFC had women fighters yet, and I didn't pursue it seriously. My dad always wanted me to as well, and I just didn't take the time. So when I got into stunts, basically like Canada and America, and we don't have really a register like Britain and Ireland have, where there's actually a set list of skills as a performer that you should be learning and developing over like really a 10-year period. And so every skill level that you pursue, you should be able to show that you have a professional level of it, which just shows that when you say you can do something, you haven't just trained in it, you've taken it to a professional level, which is a lot more. As a stunt coordinator, they would trust me more, being like, oh, she's actually had an MMA fight. But not only has she had an MMA fight, she's stage combatant trained, so she can take the safety of a stage combatant to not injure herself or other actors. But then if she needs to, she can also go like full tilt. She knows the techniques. I can trust her when she says she can do a rear naked choke, or she can do an arm bar, or she can do a solid takedown, or she has options to play with, so that the director now has options to play with. So the MMA came, like, obviously my fight was about a year ago, and it was really just because I've always wanted to do one, and I had the opportunity through Wim to Warrior was the program where they take people with no experience to experienced and get them in their first cage fight. And honestly, had that program not existed, I probably would have never been taken seriously enough to even get my first MMA fight. I would have had to do so many more years of training. And as a stunt person, it's hard to focus on one skill set only, because you have to really diversify in so many ways. So I'll always try to train fighting, but there's other stuff I always have to be on the move, if that helps.
Oh, for sure. No, that's great. And speaking of the training, like you've got quite the wide range of different training in different styles of martial art, right? Can you kind of tell us about some of that experience and some of the places you've maybe gone to train, things like that?
Sure. Yeah. So I for fighting, it's so hard to to go in. But when I basically, before stunts, I would just kind of do like a broad explanation of where I've come from in that. But I basically was like Pilates and yoga, took my first stunt training course that I mentioned. And then I guess I started parkour pretty heavily. Then I also found out about an international stunt workshop called the Paddy Crane, which I could, again, talk about that quite a bit. It's a wonderful place for a lot of stunt performers, circus people, HEMA, like so many different walks of life, and as artists get together and train. And so I learned a ton of different techniques from all the different trainers, and these people come internationally. So they're trainers and performers from all over the world that get together every 2 years in Banff and basically learn together different skills. So I don't even know the fight styles that I've learned from them or stage combatant styles that I've learned from them, but I know it's in my body because when I need it, it's there. And other than that, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was always a go-to for me. I love the chess game of like manipulating the joints in the body and using them to my advantage in that. Especially being a smaller female, it just worked for me and I liked it. And then Muay Thai is my stand-up that I've been learning at Champions Creed as well. And that's a stand-up I used in my MMA fight, and I do enjoy that quite a bit. And then obviously some wrestling. I don't do a lot of wrestling just because of like, I don't want to worsen any like back injuries, that kind of thing. So I kind of play it safe a bit with wrestling. If I don't need to, I don't do it. But again, whenever you're doing anything stunt-wise, takedowns are a good skill to have. So it's a 50-50. I love it. And I also don't personally seek it out. I've also trained in Krav Maga. I remember my Krav Maga coach, when he met me, he's like, so you're doing parkour in Krav Maga. You couldn't be any harder on your body. And but I just really, really enjoyed it. So Krav Maga was something I did for a while. And I would actually like to get back into, just because there's so many more tactical things you learn, which is great for like action flicks and that kind of thing to know. I did a little bit of Savat, probably pronouncing it wrong. Cane fighting. I still have my cane. I love it. And the nice thing about that too is, like, you know, when I was doing Krav Maga, you learn about like what weapons you're allowed to use, and what country, what are you allowed to use. You have to start to actually really know your rights and what you're allowed to play with, which is a good thing to know. And most stunt performers have a very good range of knowledge when it comes to weaponry and what weapons they're good with using, which ones are not. Usually everybody has a specialty. I had moved to Ireland and then I came back. And one of my mentors connected me to the stunt coordinator on Vikings. And so I was going to go back. However, I just left Ireland because of a fiance that was not good to me. And I came home and I didn't want to go back to Ireland. It was too soon for me. So that was kind of shitty because I wanted to be a shield maiden. And so for me, like sword fighting, shield maiden with a sword and shield, that's kind of one of my favorites. That's like a go-to for me. If I can have a shield, I'll hit you with my shield. It's just nicer. Straight up, it's my favorite. Knife fighting. Kev McCurdy is from Britain. So I actually went to Britain and took a stage combatant workshop there. And I'm just horrible. There's so many organizations. I actually would have had to write down a list to mention it. But I went to Britain for a week. And I went there basically for him because I took a knife fighting at the Paddy Crane with him. And he was just like, if you cut them like this, it opens like this. And if you cut them here, it opens like that. And I was like, it's like he was having sex with a knife. It was just beautiful. And to be honest, that's when I fell in love with knife fighting. So there's just so many things that it's so easy to fall in love with when you're doing stunts, because you learn all these movements that just some will speak to you right away, and some you're like, oh, that's really interesting. I don't know if I could get good at it, like poi, or I don't know if it's like poi dart or whatever, where you have it on a rope and you. It was actually in Game of Thrones season 8. Anyways, there's examples of a lot of different stuff. So I guess, yeah, even with my MMA fighting, I didn't have a lot of fight experience or a lot of I don't have a lot of belts, but I have done a lot of different kind of fighting, different kind of weapons, different kind of strategies. So I guess when that kind of stuff comes in, I'm able to calm down and just trust that I know there's things within my body that I'm capable of doing. And if I'm doing something for a show where I'm going to help coordinate a fight scene or something, I have enough knowledge that I know how to work with somebody's body and basically just work with your partner, and you figure that out. It's a lot of give and take for film and television. Whereas when you're in MMA, it's a wild card. It's real. So it's a lot different. But yeah, I've traveled I guess, to the States, Europe, and within Canada for different stunt training at this point. I do want to go to New Zealand. I do want to go to Australia. One of my mentors in Australia, he's with Combat Circus, and his stuff is great. So I would just that was my goal, honestly, before I started working professionally. Was I just wanted to be able to travel and train in all these different stunts. I just love the training. It's so much fun, and the people are great.
Yeah, wow, like sounds like quite the journey. What I'm actually learning from all this right now is don't mess with you. Is what I'm learning at this point. So,
Well, I do cosplay Harley Quinn because she's my spirit animal.
There you go. Yeah, so that's just another reason don't mess with you.
If you punch me, I'll probably like it. It's fine. But just be careful because I'm coming back.
Exactly. Yeah, you'll be punching with a smile on your face.
It will be. It happens.
Like you'd mentioned kind of in your portion there about it's hard on your body, the whole stunt work, all of it's fairly, but some of your training helps, I would assume, minimize some of that pain, or not pain, but the toughness that your body goes through, right? You're learning the correct falls to help alleviate some of the potential dangers to your body, things like that. In general, do you have an idea of what the average lifespan of a stunt person is, since it is so hard on the body? Or
I think that's really individual. So there's some people, like there's actors like, oh, I want to be a stunt performer. Like, okay, well, if I do this, or you have to fall and get thrown into a wall, like, how are you going to feel about that? Oh, well, it would be padded and stuff. And you're like, no, it's actually a wall. And the only padding you have is the padding you've put on your own body. So, I mean, if you know how to pad yourself really, really well, like one time I was falling off a bed. But what I realized was the only piece I missed putting padding, just a little bit of padding on my front hip. So now when I fall, I make sure I have a little piece of padding right on my front hip, because it's just, for some reason, it's a bony part of my body that I happen to hit pretty much every time I fall now. So you just kind of develop a body awareness through training. Sometimes you learn it on the job, and then you correct your padding for the next job. But I think it's just a real danger. So for lifespan, I find that people who are really serious about stunts, as long as they keep training and they keep working, they keep going. But once you stop, your injuries start to flare up. You're not training the same way. Your body's not strong in the way it was before, so it's not holding itself together. So yeah, I kind of feel like some may say 10, 20 years, but I've seen some going for much longer because they know if they stop, they're in trouble. And then it just depends too. Are you the stunt performer who, maybe makes $2,000 and then spends $1,000 on recovery and $1,000 more on gear, or $1,000 on training? Like, what are you spending your money on that you're making? How are you rehabbing your body? You're an athlete. And every day for you, if you're training and working, you should be treating your body as if you were an athlete. So how you're eating, I roll out at home. I have, my tennis ball, I have rollers. I go for massages. I keep up with physio or chiro as my body needs it. And I just have to take that time. If I do yoga and I'm crying because the poses are hurting so much because I'm so sore, I'm going to put that work in because I know on the next show, I need my body to be ready for it. So I think it just depends on the person, really. And their passion, right? Like, there's a lot you're willing to push through. So like, I have some severe injuries that I'm dealing with that I push through because I'm so passionate about it that I'm very mindful. So I'm not going to push to the point where I'm incapable or I'm going to cause any risk to a film set. But at the same time, I love what I do. And I would unless I'm literally flat on a bed, I'm not going to stop. So.
And have you had any broken limbs or anything at this point, or been hospitalized due to stunt work?
I haven't, and luckily, but again, usually stunt coordinators won't hire somebody, and I shouldn't take jobs that I know I'm not ready for. So I'm just I play on the safe side. I will take a job when I'm ready, or sometimes the stunt coordinator will be like, I didn't call you, because I didn't think you could do it. I called you because I know you can. And that's when you have to sit back and be like, okay, they're right. I can do this. I know what I'm doing. And so really the chance of me getting injured would be a fluke accident more than it would be because of me or the set or any safety precautions. Sometimes things are just going to happen. But so far, no, I haven't. I do have a back injury that sometimes just gets angry, but it hasn't affected my work. I've had, several concussions, and there's actually a stunt group in Vancouver that gets together and talks about their concussions. And I know when I spoke to them, there's not a lot of women who've come forward. And again, all my concussions have really honestly been just from, again, stupid little accidents, but mostly just in my training. It has nothing to do with any professional work that I've done. So again, I think it just depends on how you are, how your stunt coordinator is. Don't take work that you're not ready for, that your body can't handle. You usually know what stunt you're going in for most of the time. I know there are circumstances where you show up like, yo, I'm doing this today. No idea. So it just depends. But I have not been in the hospital yet, and I plan on not doing that.
Yes, knock on wood, hopefully not.
Mm-hmm.
So this all kind of leads up to, well, actually the shirt you're wearing.
Yep.
So this is a feature film called Crossfire, which you're currently cast in. And sorry, have you filmed it yet, or you're going to start filming?
So for the tentative date, as I know, is early next year is when we're filming. So Crossfire is a Sega, and the first film is called Chronicles of Gabrielle or Gabriel. Again, I'm sometimes really horrible at pronouncing, and I'm so sorry. But yeah, so Crossfire is a Sega. The first film I'm in, and obviously, I guess I am in. And then the second film, I'm in quite a bit more. So it's going to be really exciting. I did talk to the producer, obviously, about being on here today and to see what I could mention and what I could not, again, respecting the NDAs that we spoke about earlier. So I actually even have like my script right here with me. There you go.
Nice.
So I'm really, really excited about it. And the graphics are amazing. And they're also going to be making games for this Sega. So, I mean, I don't even know what to say about this film because I can't wait to see it. And I like it better be in theaters because I think it's going to be mind blowing. And I don't say that about a lot of scripts that I've read, but I was reading this script and the whole time I couldn't put it down. I literally canceled half of my day and just sat there because I was so entranced with it. And that's when I was like, I have to be part of this. Like, oh my God, it was that good. So I've been like really, really patiently waiting to start filming this. And I can't wait. So.
Can you talk about your role at all a little bit or what?
Yeah, so my name in the film, as you can see, like on IMDb, is Destiny. And I got hired because I am a stunt actress, that I'm able to do my own fighting and stunts in it. So I guess I can mention that a little bit. I don't really want to say too much more, but there's a phrase on my shirt here that says, "I've got time for one more," and that's a huge line in the film. And honestly, that phrase alone, when I'm struggling, especially through COVID and everything that's been going on, means already so much to me. And I can't obviously explain why in this film it means so much to me. But I've got time for one more. And that phrase, like, I could tattoo that phrase on my body if I was allowed to have more tattoos, because it's getting me through so much in my life. It's just a great film. The writing is amazing. They've already won, I believe, at least one award for this script, and they've been submitting. I know there's an entire, you see that little Facebook thing on Crossfire. I believe they have all the awards and nominations and considerations listed in there. Because it should have more wins, honestly. I haven't read a script this good. So
good to hear. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm definitely intrigued. So filming's supposed to start sometime next year. Do you have any clue as to when they're hoping to get it finalized?
I think it will be.
I'm assuming, but
yeah, I mean, COVID depending. Hopefully, we start filming as like predicted early next year, and hopefully it's released within that time frame. I think just because there are so many films and ideas and videos that they're doing with this, that they're gonna be moving along pretty steadily once they get going. I think just with everything, once it starts, it's like the ball's moving, and until then, we're just kind of sitting and waiting for that first one to start. So I think once that goes, it'll be pretty back to back.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to share the poster. It doesn't show up great here, but I think people will get the gist of it. It'll show up kind of between Megan and myself. There you go. Yeah. Hey,
That's their new movie art. I don't know which way it works. So yeah,
but yeah,
it's a
no,
nice poster.
exactly. Yeah, it is a nice poster. I like that.
Mm.
So yeah, keep an eye out for that, folks. When that comes out, Crossfire for sure. Um, I want to kind of touch back on another comment you made previously was with the tattoo. Um,
Yeah.
as an actor, do you find that it might be a limiting factor for an actor is to have tattoos? Because I've kind of seen conversations, flashing around in Facebook and about this topic once in a while, where some people are, of course, fully tattooed. Um, they don't really feel it. Well, if anything, I think it puts them in a certain category, right, of
It
what
does,
they can
yeah.
do. And from yourself, I was just kind of curious what your perspective of tattoos was.
Yeah, so I have a few things obviously, to say about that. So I have 2 tattoos. They have limited me. I mean, there was one day I was asked to photo double with using my hand, the hand with the tattoo, to reach in basically and pull out a bloody shirt. And I could not get the job because basically at that point I was so low on the food chain that they could get another actress. Were a dime a dozen to use their hand without a tattoo. Whereas if I hadn't had that tattoo, I would have gotten it. So when you're starting out, it's a liability because it does. I mean, it's great if you want to be typecasted, be a cool punk person or motorcycle person on a show. That's great because that's a unique look, and you can definitely get casted for that. And even like my stunt coordinator, if I'm body doubling people or photo doubling or stunt doubling, I can't. It's more work for the makeup department. It's more money and time consuming for the production. I went into one. I have a film, Audrey Earnshaw or something. I'm so bad at names, and people are going to hate me for that. But it's coming out, and like I actually have a nude scene, and one of the requirements was no tattoos, and I was like, well, I'm going to cover mine up, but I'm taking this job because I had another film that I'm casted in that I'm just waiting tentatively to find out if it's starting or not. And that's another lead role, but I have a sex scene. And so I wanted to see if I was comfortable being naked. So I was just like, I was going to do this. And I know this is a roundabout way to explain this, but I covered up my own tattoos. I showed up on set. And at that point, I already knew the makeup artist. So I said, hey, I know I took this job and it said no tattoos. I've self-covered. What do you think? And then he just kind of touched it up a bit for me. So I didn't cost a lot more for production to quickly touch it up a bit. It wasn't a hassle. I had a good reputation. They liked me, so it was okay. They were willing to do that because I was already building basically a name and a reputation for myself that I wasn't a problem to do that for. So that's a huge thing too. Like when nobody knows who you are and that's your first impression is you're causing them more work, they're not going to appreciate it. But because I knew them, they were just really kind to me and they were completely fine with it. Even when I photo doubled for some other actresses as well, even if they don't think it's in the shot, I still can take them another 10, 30 minutes when I'm stunt doubling for them to cover it up. But as a stunt double, for my skill set, it's worth the time for them to cover it up. So I guess it just depends on what your goals are. If you just want to be doing some background stuff, if you want to get typecast in a role where you get to be badass, I mean, there's a need for that. There's always a need. That's a niche that you would have. But if you want to be considered for more and you have larger goals in the film industry, I just see it, like you say, until you have a skill set that's so in demand and so needed, or you're, a name, an actor with a name, then you can get tattoos. When you reach that level, you can get more tattoos. And honestly, I'd probably have 10 more at this point because I think they're beautiful. And the ones I want are very thought out, but I will not get any more unless I have a bigger name or my skill set as a stunt is needed enough that I can, in some way, selfishly ask production to cover them up for the job. But yeah, right now I have no intentions of getting any more. And I've actually thought about removing one of the 2 I have because one of the ones I have right here, is it's so low down on my wrist that it does cause more conflict for me. So you just have to be logical when you're thinking about it. Basically, what's it worth it to you, and what's your plans for your career, and why is it important?
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that's all fair statements. Um, so we're kind of winding down a little bit here. Normally at this point we would have done the phrase challenge. Unfortunately, due to technical issues, we're not going to do that today. However, I do still want to open it up to the folks that are watching, that if you do have any questions for myself or Megan, please just let us know, and we'll be happy to answer whatever we can. Until then, we'll just kind of keep going here for another 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. Um, Future for Megan. Do you have plan? Like, is your preference to stay local, or do you want to move out to either the east or west coast or down south? Like, do you have a kind of an end goal as where you see your career?
I think it's so hard. One acting coach I spoke to once, she says, if I'm going to be successful, I will be successful no matter where I am. And I believe in that, because really, if I'm willing to travel, I'm meeting people internationally, I'm training with them, I'm building relationships with them. So what if I'm based in Calgary? If I'm willing to come to you, if I'm traveling to you already, I've built a relationship with you, you like what I do, you like who I am, I have no problem moving there. It's totally fine. And maybe once the Crossfire sagas are done in 5-10 years, maybe I will just go to Vancouver. Maybe I will just go to LA, just because now I've made more of a name for myself that it's worth it for me to move. But right now in Calgary, I'm getting a lot of valuable experience. I'm working with a lot of people I really love and like to be around. I definitely thought about moving to Vancouver maybe in 2 to 5 years, because I would be getting more stunt work, and that is important to me. But right now, I'm able to build my success from where I am, and I'm training in ways that I can do where I am. So I think a lot of people, they move because they're impatient, but I do truly believe that phrase, that if you're going to be successful, you will be successful no matter where you are.
Well, okay. No, that's fair. Um, I wish I had your optimism. Not working out for me so far at this point, but
It happens. It's a lot of work, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It is. Yeah, it's a bit of a grind, which is part of the fun, really. Do you have ambition to do your own projects, or do you
Yes,
want to go behind the
absolutely.
scenes a bit, or you just want to focus in front of the camera and that's it?
No, again, for me, the film industry in its entirety is where my heart is. Stunts obviously just a physical passion for me. But I've actually, one of the first projects I did, I ended up being an associate producer. That's a whole different story. But it was a project I got going. I got people together. That's actually how I met my boyfriend. He was the first AD on it, 5 years ago. And so that's actually where I started. I produced my own film, so I actually had my first opportunity to act, which didn't actually happen. But I am in the middle of making another film, so I would like to get more, I guess, on the producer side. I like making productions. I like bringing people together. That's always been something for me. I really like bringing people together. I like my film family. I have about 5 script ideas. I've started writing one. I have one that I'm trying to do more research on. So those are if I have time to write more, maybe if I'm in between film sets and I'm able to afford to have the time to write, I will finish those. And, now that I'm meeting more people who are writers, I could probably see if anybody wants help, co-write with me, that kind of thing. I reached out to some producers and said, hey, can I come shadow you on projects? Can I start coming to learn with you? Obviously, they're the 2 films that I like. One was called Time Traveled, which they'll be renaming, I believe, and Crossfire. But if there's a way for the sequels that I can reinvest into the films and be more a part of them, that would mean a lot to me, just because of that togetherness feeling. And I do believe in giving back and working more with it. So yeah, I would definitely like to do that.
Okay. Oh, that sounds fair to me as well. We do have a question here, which I'm just going to share with folks, from Derek. There we go. I'll let you have a look at that. What film inspires you the most as an actress, stunt woman, and why?
Oh my God, that one's so hard. And of course, it's from Derek. I don't think I could pick one, but what I'll say would actually really motivated me to take my acting and my training seriously, which is why I actually started going to company rogues and finally put the time in, was Hunger Games. And it was because, I had read the books and I loved the storyline. And then when Jennifer Lawrence played Katniss, that's when I was like, oh, you look so much like Jennifer Lawrence. And I was just like, wow, she can like act and she looks like me. That's got to be somewhat promising. And then, again, maybe I could stunt double her. But that just kind of, there was like a little fire that like someone who looks like me could do great things. And maybe I could do great things because, you're always in that kind of as an average person. You just think, oh, like I could never do that because these women are all so beautiful. And Jennifer Lawrence she's beautiful, but she's very natural and grounded. And it gives you that opportunity to see that maybe you can actually be a part of something like that. And you could actually act and be on a film and do well. There's just, I don't know, something about that really, really got to me and it motivated me. And it was just maybe timing of my life as well. But that film definitely, and those books definitely inspired me quite a bit. So I guess that would answer that.
Yeah, well, hopefully, Derek, you can let us know if that doesn't answer it.
Better not. Just kidding.
Yeah, no, I think we're, for the most part, I think we're good to go. I really want to thank you for coming on the show. Again, if we'll kind of keep rambling here for a couple minutes. If somebody else wants to pop a question up, that'd be great. If not, it's all good. I want to say, sounds like you're in a really good spot right now for your career. So good for you. Hopefully it continues to climb, and I hope Crossfire works out really well for you and the entire group. That's totally answers it, is what Derek says. Yeah, no, I hope Crossfire works out well for you and the entire production team. And yeah, well, I'm looking forward to kind of checking that out. So definitely keep us in the loop for that. For the folks watching, as you can see the scroll that's kind of going by, you can check out Crossfire on facebook.com. And yeah, check it out and see what it's all about. And thank you again, Megan. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me today. It was definitely an honor to be here and get to do this with you. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, so again, I'm just going to hold on for a quick second, make sure there's no more questions. And if not, I will sign off.
No questions? It's breaking my heart, everybody. I'm just saying. I'm just kidding. Cry real tears. It won't happen.
Right? Yeah.
2 more minutes.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, folks. Thanks for joining us. It looks like we actually we had a pretty good viewership today. I feel anyway. So thanks for everybody who came on and said hi and got involved with everything. That's kind of why we do this. I do like the crowd interaction and folks kind of chiming in. So thank you. And we'll hopefully we will see you next week. Next week, just to let you guys know, is a voice actor by the name of Mike Anthony. He's voiced a few video games, things like that, cartoons. So we'll definitely have a chat with him, and it'll be a good one. So join us next week, same time. Thank you, and we will chat later.
Thank you.